a new company that will be spun off as a result of this finding.
Wow.
Thank you.
Okay, so that is, so it's
Exciting.
yeah, it's exciting. I'm getting goosebumps again.
This is, thank you, because our patient advocates need advocates like you to do
Yeah.
stuff like this, so
Yeah.
thank you so much.
Do we maybe have to disband?
No.
Maybe become a social club. Like smokers or tobacco enthusiasts.
You know, when I first arrived here in October, November, the organization appropriately was talking about research first, because we knew that in research lied, you know, I mean, I understood what they meant. But I said, you know, perhaps the message research, I said most people, if not all of our patient population, do not even want us to be around, let alone fund research. None of us want to have something done.
Yeah.
So it's really pushing for treatments.
Yeah.
We know that research is the path, but it's not the goal. It's not the end at all. The end is for exactly what you said,
Yeah.
for us not to even need to exist, or to exist for some other reason because of this. We've been in a foxhole together. We came out victorious, and now we gather for a reunion.
Christmas parties.
Yeah.
Because, you know, when you were showing one of the slides about research, I could feel myself going, great, because I've dealt with this since 1986, and every year I hear some new research that proves it's real or proves it's different from depression, or and
And it
here
goes
we are, all
nowhere.
these, and I'm like, great, and my doctors don't know about it. The research, you know, it's great. There's hundreds of papers, as you both have said. There are thousands and thousands of papers out there that are a little piece, and they fall in a big hole, and away it goes. So if anything comes of it, you know, we're going to have quite a celebration.
Oh, yeah.
And again, that is because of this.
Right.
The way that it's just been this huge gap. This is now, I don't like to use this term, but in a lot of the literature, the scientific and medical literature over the past 2 years, this has been called the Valley of Death. And it's usually depicted as, you know, scientists in the bench over there, and then a bunch of money, all the money that whatever, however much it was, $139 billion, kind of just falling in here, and a bunch of skeletons in the bottom. They call it the Valley of Death for a reason, because everything just stops. There's this cliff. It goes off. It doesn't go anywhere beyond that paper.
What about patent on this drug that you
Yes.
are proposing?
That's why we're not telling you about it. my deal is more the business side of it. And I've been very excited since I arrived here. And I'll say it in a third person as if I'm not involved, because I didn't generate this. What you all have done with such, the leveraging they've done, and when I began to realize it, I thought in this order: A, this is going to expedite treatments to our patient population, and B, these processes are sellable. Therefore, if you lower or de-risk pharmaceutical engagement, you get pharmaceuticals involved in taking the ball the rest of the way home. And you get to generate money, which funnels back into more research.
So I was thinking, you know what?
Absolutely.
Run away before-
It funnels back into more research. So we are,
How do you protect that?
and the reason why we start a new company is because the way these things work is we carry the ball a little bit of the way. We make it attractive to pharmaceuticals where they can take it the rest of the way. And to us, it's like they give us Fort Knox. To them, it's like this much, you know. But they then say, listen, this shows efficacy, and because it shows efficacy, we'll do one of two things. Either we'll pay for phase 2 or phase 3 clinical trials, and so here's $25 million. Or they say, we'll just buy your company because really what we want is the IP.
So they buy the patent then?
They buy the patent.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah, in other words, there's various paths that it could go, But that's normally we don't talk much about the business because everybody's saying, show me the drug. But there is a business model wrapped around this for us that as we get to this level financially, we'll be able to attract and retain some industry partners that will fuel the funding into the future.
It's exactly as what has happened in
Absolutely.
cystic fibrosis
Yes.
and multiple myeloma, in muscular dystrophy. It's exactly what's happened because organizations like ours, populations like communities like ours have done exactly this.
And the value is in the patients.
It's exactly right. That's why those organizations have succeeded, and that's why we will succeed. And the other thing is this model right here, this broken pipeline, and pharma in this end, and the clinical development end, they've picked all that low-hanging fruit that cost them a lot of money to pick. And now they are looking for partners exactly like us because we have answered a lot of the hard questions. And we have built the infrastructure which they need in order to take it to here.
You know, you'd be good on Charlie Rose.
What's that?
Charlie Rose. He was a very great
PBS.
interviewer. He's on every Friday night, or he's on every week.
Every night, 9 o'clock, every
9
night.
to 10.
KVS.
Yes, every night, 9 to 10.
KVRE too.
And he's taken up medical issues.
Oh, good.
He had at the time.
Yes.
Is he in Sacramento
But you
or?
can email
It's
him.
national.
National.
PBS.
He's a national.
Charlie
PBS?
Rose
No, what is it?
Big time.
is a great interviewer,
Cool.
thorough.
Done a lot
I don't like
of
being
work
on
with
the
brain.
Get you on.
You know, Suzanne, this would be absolutely spectacular
We'd find
if this
it.
developed into something concrete. For many of us, and this is not going to come as a surprise to you, the whole push to get antigen approved wasn't just to get antigen approved, but was to have a drug be approved
That's right.
to give our illness some validity in the medical
That's
world.
right.
Do you share that belief? Do you think once one drug is approved, it'll make a big difference?
I absolutely do. I absolutely do. And Mark and I were talking about this on the way here. We believe that there are several low-hanging fruits for MECFS. They just haven't been picked.
Yeah, and from my days with polycystic kidney disease, pharmaceuticals never want to be first to market because that is what they call the bleeding edge. They spend a whole ton of money to get one drug approved, and all the other people, all the other pharmaceuticals follow their lead. But that's just it. You get one and the dam breaks, and then other pharmaceuticals pile on. And then you start getting multiple therapies. And so you're
My other
right.
question is, do you think they see us as a market worth tapping yet?
Yes,
Do you think they do?
from my experience with pharmaceuticals, absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Novartis, we were, again, back to polycystic kidney disease, we were engaged with Novartis over in Basel, Switzerland, which is where their headquarters is. PKD has the occurrence of 600,000 Americans, 12.5 million people worldwide. CFS is reported to have 1 million Americans, 17 million worldwide. And that's the point. The point I'm trying to make is Novartis said niche patient groups, 500, 600,000 or more, are very interesting now to us because they've already done the big heart things.
Right.
They've already done the diabetes. They've already done the kidney things. Now they want to say, what other occurrences are out there that has enough of a patient population that we make some money, but they might be smaller and we have ignored them to date. And CFS is absolutely one.
Yeah, well, we haven't really had that sense, to be quite honest, as patients, that anybody's really all that interested in us.
Yeah, it's really even hard to find a doctor that will treat CFS.
Yeah.
They automatically say this is out of the picture.
Well,
We
I
won't
mean,
reject it.
people, by their nature, don't like to deal with something that they don't understand, especially doctors, because their doctors are there to help people. And when they don't have the tools that they need to help you, then they're afraid.
We feel helpless.
They feel
And they
helpless.
don't want to feel that way.
It's
Yeah.
really nice to
And so
find
it's
a
much-
few that like the
That's
challenge.
right. That's right. And they've sacrificed to those few that have taken on the challenge. They've sacrificed, but that's what we have to change. When we provide them with the tools that they need, going back to that Medscape survey where I said that 180,000 used the course for reference. What they said at the end of that Medscape course was that we believe ME/CFS exists. What we need are objective markers. What we need are treatments, because that's what we are. We are providers of health. We help people. If we don't have those tools, we can't help them.
Well, didn't the lights find the marker that shows that we can't?
That's another example of how the basic research side never took the leap to the clinical development side.
Because they did find a marker.
They found some markers, but they haven't had the opportunity to figure out how to validate them yet. And that's actually one of in that wheel
That's so
of
exciting.
investigators, one of our investigators is working with the lights to validate those markers.
Good.
I don't know if I don't want to stop you. I've got 3 or 4 questions. At some point, you want to stop and just sort of take questions for the rest of the time, but how much? Do you want 20 minutes or you want 10 minutes?
I think let's finish up with the
Okay.
presentation, and then we'll
Okay.
have everything to just be able to open up the floor. Another component of a research institute without walls is actually tapping into that clinical intuition, tapping into those few experts in the field, in the ME/CFS community, that understand and treat ME/CFS, to capture that knowledge, to capture that treatment intuition. And we did this, again, partnering with BioVista, the small biotech company that did the drug repurposing study. We created together a little web page that surveyed clinicians throughout the world. So we had respondents from Norway, we had respondents from Japan, we had respondents from the US, to ask them, basically, what works? What works? And interestingly, they had drugs that worked, had efficacy for the symptoms that maybe most of us don't really see as ME/CFS symptoms. The first one being they felt that they had good drugs for dealing with the depression of ME/CFS. The symptoms that they didn't have drugs for were post-exertional malaise and fatigue and brain fog.
Those are the big ones.
Those are the big ones, right? Fortunately, hopefully the drug combination, the novel drug combination, will be able to tackle at least 2 of those 3. This word cloud here was actually a word cloud generated from the survey that we did of 1,500 patients, asking them, what are your worst symptoms? And here they are, exhaustion, heat, temperature intolerance, pain. And again, these are, actually pain is one of the ones that the clinicians said they could intervene with pretty effectively, but exhaustion and some of these autonomic nervous system disturbances, they didn't have the tools to deal with. So this was a nice way to be able to validate that some of the research that we've done with drug repurposing and also some of the epigenetic work is pointing us into the right direction. That there are immune characteristics to ME/CFS that can be targeted. There are autonomic nervous system characteristics of ME/CFS that can be targeted. So this is the approach that we take. Again, patients at the center of the research and all the ways that the patients contribute that data that we need in order to be able to do the type of data crunching we saw that the BioVista can do for the drug repurposing project. Experimental data, I showed you that. Patrick McGowan doing it on the biobank samples. Patient data that you contribute when you complete the biobank stuff. Clinical trial data that we will be gathering when we start the clinical trial in January. And any other partner that we work with on clinical trials. Clinical insight data that we will begin to expand. This all translates to big data. Okay? The more data that we can get the better off we are in being able to find the answers, to be able to dissect ME/CFS down to its zeros and its ones. We know that there are examples of real-world big data. Somebody already said, I think Walmart uses big data, right, to figure out shopping patterns in their stores. There's Facebook uses Facebook Graph as their big data. Yeah, that's right. That's right. You know, I've been so worried about that. Boy, I better not say big data anymore because now it's got such a bad rap after the whole NSA thing. And then there are some good biomedical examples. CourseCAD is designed a chip that has 23 molecules on it, which they identified from about 23 million. So there's an example of using big biomedical data to hone it down to a few examples. And our drug combination is a good example. More than 200,000 data points to identify 2 drugs. So we generate big data with ME/CFS patients. You are our crowd. Good data drives good decisions. Good big data drives good decisions. The problem is that oftentimes there's not a real good way to deal with all that big data. So part of the infrastructure that we had to build in our Research Institute Without Walls was the platform that could handle patient data, experimental data, clinical trial data, clinical insight data. This is a platform that was actually developed by one of our partners, first funded from NYU, and now working directly with us, and it's called Logos Omics. Logos means word. Omics is the modern word for all, so all words. Literally what this platform does is it takes all of this type of big data, which comes in all different shapes and forms, and it translates it into the same language so that it can be analyzed in the same way. And again, this is something that would have not been possible were it not for the types of computational abilities that we have now. And with all the information being into the same type of language, we can now identify ME/CFS subtypes much more readily. We
Is this
can.
what a programmer would do?
Yeah.
Translate.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, there's a couple of guys that work on this that are programmers, but the one who thought of it is actually a physicist, and an MIT physicist at that, Caltech. So again, another example of getting amazing people working on this problem where we wouldn't have had otherwise.
Is this a company or a program other companies can buy?
So this is also a part of our business development model. So this platform is still in development, and we hopefully will have it by the next year developed to a point where we can actually offer it as a service. So it would be software as a service.
We're partners. It's ours.
It's yours. Oh, how
And
exciting.
and it is, as you guys are so smart. It's disease agnostic. So as it works for us, it'll work for diabetes, it'll work for cancer, it'll work for, you fill in the blank. And we'll probably market it more as software as a service.
How much money have you put into this so far, or somebody?
We actually, so
Ridiculously
our
more.
partner that we're partnered with, and I started working on this about 8 years ago. And we have, the CFIDS Association has put in about $100,000, and then I would say its value, because of his time, my time, and what is behind the scenes of this platform,
Yes.
is about a $2 million.
I'm surprised it's not 10 or 15.
Yeah, exactly.
Or more.
Yeah, I mean, it's
$100 million to develop.
when I was talking to patients like me last week, they had one of their guys on there who also works with DARPA, the Defense Advanced Research Performance, whatever DARPA stands for. And I showed this slide, and he said, "You did what? And on how much? Don't you ever let that person who developed the system go.
Yeah.
Don't let them
This
have
is
it."
really private enterprise versus the government doing it.
That's right. That's right.
So
That's
much
right.
more efficient.
Much more efficient. at all levels, not only this, but everything else that we've showed you, much more efficient, incredible value for